Deontology is an ethical theory associated mainly with Immanuel Kant, who did a lot of study and writing on the idea that we are rational human beings and a moral act should be a universal rational act, and it should apply to everyone and all situations, and that there are things that are morally correct or morally wrong according to, it does not matter what the outcome is. So I cannot justify my actions by what the outcome is. It is simply right or wrong, and it should be universal for all. So if we look at the lens, and we look at the action of robbing a bank through, we're going to look at it through several lenses called formulations. And these formulations will help us determine whether it is morally correct or whether it is an immoral act. So with the first formulation, we want to ask the question, what if everyone did this? And we have to look at it as, what would happen if everyone did this? We should state a maxim, a personal rule, and we should determine what the consequences would be if that were a universal law. So if we look at robbing a bank, I could say I can rob a bank if I need the money. I can rob a bank if someone is dying. I can rob a bank if I don't agree with the rules of the bank. So I have this maxim, this personal rule. And now I have to look at it through the lens of, if everybody did that, what would happen? Well, the consequences would be dire in the sense of, if everyone robbed a bank, our financial sector would collapse. There would be no trust in the banks. We would be we would not No one would be in banking, because either the cost would be too high to run a bank, or no one would be depositing money in the banks. And everything that we now do through banking would be impossible. So even at the level, the individual level, that would be dire. But if you go to the societal level and the global level, then the consequences are even worse. So we cannot say that it would pass the first formulation. It would fail the first formulation. If everyone did that, it would not be considered a moral act. We go on to the second formulation of robbing a bank, and this one has to do with the individual, the worth or the value of the individual. And Kant says that people are beyond price. We cannot put a price on people. We cannot take advantage of people or use them for our own gain. So therefore, I have to look at robbing a bank through this lens. Am I treating people as a means to an end or as their own end? So let's look at robbing a bank in that respect. First of all, if I want to rob a bank, I'm going to have to use force or violence or scare people. I will not be treating them as their own ends. I will be treating them as a means to give me money and to take from the bank. That's the workers. Now let's go to the people who have deposited the money. We'll also be stealing from them. I'll be taking their money against their will, against their consent. So in no way will I be treating people as an ends. I will be treating them as a means. So this action also fails the second formulation. We're going to look at the third formulation. This one is societal. So would a society of free, rational thinkers agree that this action belongs in their society? Would my actions be acceptable in this society? And we have to look at why or why not. In the sense of robbery, it would, as we said, debilitate the banking system, erode trust. No one would want to deposit in these banks. We would not have any confidence in our banking system. So, does this action belong in a society of rational people? And there is no rational society that would fit this action of robbing a bank and say, yes, this can be a universal law that we would adopt. It just simply would not fit. So all three formulations, this act has failed. All three formulations. It clearly has failed. Um, no autonomous society would accept these actions or adopt these actions. The outcome does not matter in Kant's theory. In this deontology, the outcome is not what justifies the action. It is the morality and the universal acceptance or the universal right of the action that says whether it is a moral action or an immoral action. Therefore, if we need all three formulations to be met, clearly robbing a bank has not met them. It is not, we are not doing the right thing. It is not right. And the principles that are involved would simply be violated. So the consequences do not matter here. It is the principles involved, it is the morality of the action. Therefore, robbing a bank would not be a moral action.